once we had a building that we met in. Of course, it was established before that, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. But I want to lead song number 807, and of course, this kind of this doesn't exactly refer to our memories, but it's memories concerning the Lord and memories concerning the church here at Dripping Spring. 807. Oh, we got it up there. Good. Used to not have that. Let's all sing this. Precious memories. Precious memories, unseen angel, said from somewhere to my soul, how they linger ever near me, and the sacred past unfold. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. In the stillness of the midnight, echoes from the past I hear, old time singing, gladness bringing, from that lovely land somewhere. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. I'm just thinking in the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. As I travel on life's pathway, know not what the years may hold. As I ponder, hope grows fonder, precious memories find my soul. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. Oh, I'm so glad that y'all are here. Probably to hear something you've already heard before about the history of this congregation, but some of you may be new members. Some of you may not be aware of exactly the background of this congregation. It won't take just a few minutes to tell you about that. Now, of course, we are kind of celebrating today as the 75th, but really it started before the 75th, and I'll talk just a little bit more about that. But this was the in 1942, in March, the best we could recollect, was the first time we met in our own building. My family, my mother and dad and my sister and brothers moved here in January of 1942. Well, the building was under construction at that time, and then we were meeting at the old theater building or in the school building down next to the old two-story building downtown. That's where we met at then, and then we got our building complete. We met in it about March of 1942. Now the congregation had its beginning before that This congregation is a part of some other congregations that were meeting. For example, there was a congregation over on what we call Tech. I don't know, that's on 620 over on the lake. And there was a school building there, and the church members built a tabernacle there next to it, and they met there or in the school building depending upon the weather. And so there was a group of fine Christians that would live there near the lake area. Well, in 1939, if my history is right, or thereabout, is when they completed the dam, Marshall Ford. Well, they don't call it Marshall Ford. What do they call it now? Mansfield Dam. They completed that, and of course, when it backed up water, well, a lot of the people, of course, sold their place that they had, or they lived down close to the river, and some of them began to come this way, like the Haydens, and also my wife's family, and some of them were living there, and I believe the Tungus may have been living in that area too, but they all began to come this way and bought ranches and land in this area. There was also a group of Christians that was meeting in Henley. There was the school building in Henley at that time, and they were meeting there, and sometimes then they finally become more convenient for them to meet in what we call Mill Seat. And that's a little school building that was about halfway between here and Henley on the right. The building's not there anymore. All that's left is just the steps to the building. But they met in that school building, and that was the Mill Seat. And again, there was some of the Combses and Hudsons and others that I don't know because they were here before my time. Then at the same time, down in Driftwood, there was a group of Christians meeting down there, and they was having some of the Sarleses was there, and Gages met there, and the Combs even lived on a ranch near there, and they met there for a while at Driftwood. Well, it began to kind of come together because Dripping Springs was kind of the center of the different congregations. Began to meet here, and this seemed to be where the strength was. So some brethren got together and said, let's buy some property and so we can build a church building. In 1939, they bought their first piece of property. Where the city hall is now, and most of you all know that's where the church building used to be. And that piece of property right now, which is worth a considerable amount of money, the brethren then bought it from Will Crow for $50 at that time. So that's kind of hard to believe, but we still have the deed to that purchase on that. So that's where they bought it in 39, but they didn't get to building it until about December of 1941. In fact, the day after Pearl Harbor was bombed, there was some of our brethren going into Austin to make preparations, get lumber, or make a loan or whatever on that particular date, on December the 8th. And so that's when they began to put the lumber together. They built the building during the first part of World War II, the first little building. It had no classrooms. They just didn't have room enough. We had our classes in the corners of the building. It had 2 wooden stoves in it, one in the up right-hand corner, one in the left-hand corner. I don't know if they had any more than that or not, but I remember 2. And sometimes the kiddos would have their classes by these old wood stoves. Adults would be up in the front of the building and wouldn't talk too loud, and the kids wouldn't talk too loud. We'd have 2 or 3 classes in one room. Or they would meet out in the cars or under the trees, the kids would, for their classes. And finally, and I do remember this very well, they built 2 classrooms on the back of that first building. They tore down the tabernacle in Tech, over in Tech on the 620, used it for a lot of the framework of the classrooms that they added on to the wooden building, I mean the first building. So now we had 2 classrooms, and we were growing, and kids had a place to go besides out under the trees. And then after that, well, we decided we need to get a preacher that lives in Dripping Springs, but we don't have a house for him to live in. So in the early 50s, they built their first preacher's home. And it was in back of where the church building is now. And so then we got a preacher that had where's the preachers? How many preachers we got here today? Could they live in a house with one bedroom and one living room and the kitchen together with the dining room? That's what it was. But anyway, that's what our first preacher's home was. I don't believe it quite comes up to the one that's in progress now that we're building. But anyway, that's what they stayed in and for a while. And then the highway come through. The one, everything used to go down what we call Mercer Street. You know, when you get old, your mind just down Mercer Street, and that's where all the traffic was, 290 traffic. But then they built a side Dripping Springs, old Mercer Street, and built the highway that's there now. And when they done that, they came through some of the church property, and kind of we had to move our preacher's home because it was in the pathway of the new road. So we had to move our church building because it was in the wrong spot. They gave us some more property, which was down closer to the creek there. It was what used to be a county road that was given to us, and then they give us the money to turn the building around. The one that you see the picture of out, you might see the picture of it out there on the bulletin board of a wooden frame building with two little kids on it. One of them's on the porch and one of them's outside. But that little girl on the porch is my wife. And so, and the one out that's running away from her was her sister. But anyway, that was the way that the building looked, and we had to build onto it we had to turn it around, so they used the different devices to turn the building around. They faced the highway with it, the new highway, and then they took the preacher's home and they brought it over and attached it to the wood building. And then we had 2 more classrooms. So we were good. We had 4 classrooms now, and that was great. And so that went on fine for a while until we outgrew it. And then Brother Herschel Bonnet and some of them were here. There was elders at that time. And they said, we need to do something to provide more space and more classrooms. So then they built what we call the metal building. You may have seen pictures of it out there. It was a brown metal building, but it gave us a lot of room. It wasn't very pretty, but it would give us the room we needed to have classes in and have our services and so forth. So then that was built, and that lasted for a while, and then we run out of space again. Thank the Lord for that. So then we added on, we took the building down, and we met what the preacher this morning talked about, going over to a pool hall or somewhere, having the services over there. Is that what he said? Yes. Well, it was some kind of a place. I don't know if it was a pool hall, but anyway, that's where we went to have our services while they were redoing this building that we were in progress of. And so we had to add on to the side of it, build more slab foundation out to the side and out to the back, give us more room to make a larger building. And then they built the first rock building that's down there, that most of you remember, that rock building that's there. In fact, it's the building that's there now. And we met in that building until we began to hurt for room again. And the Lord has been with us. So we sold that for just under $1 million, I believe, for that. It really helped us a lot in the big construction of this building here, along with all the good people and their donations and so forth that they made here. But it has really grown here, and it's, but we still, we think, well, boy, we've grown a lot, we're doing great, and that's good. But you think of the different number, more people that we have now than there was back then. Just to give you an example, I walked up to Smith. What's Sister Smith's first name? Huh?
Angela.
What?
Angela.
Angela, thank you. You also, when you get 83, you also get deaf. You lose your memory, you get deaf and everything else. But anyway, I was talking to her. She may not remember it, maybe about a year ago or something like that. And I asked her, how many kids they got? And I think she coaches the junior high, is that correct? And how many kids is in junior high?
We have about 1,100 almost, 240.
1,100 kids in junior high. That's just in junior high. And back then, I went home, of course, and I got my 1947 annual out, and I started counting the kids. First grade through the 12th grade, counting them all. And through the whole school, and this included everything over on the lake, because the lake was part of this school. All of that Lake Travis was part of this school. Counted all the kids from 1st to the 12th in that annual. We had 164. So, you know, you can see how it's grown in population. So that's one reason we've grown in number. But that gives us more potential as Christians to do more work, to convert more people, to convert more souls. So let's keep that in mind. Be thankful that we have grown. Be thankful that we've been here for over 75 years. And we thank those that have gone before us and that have done so much to help provide this congregation and the work that we live in. And we're so happy for all the good members that we have, and we appreciate it very much. I know I went over a little bit, but preachers are supposed to go over. I'm not a preacher, so I went over anyway. I guess that's because I'm an elder. So anyway, that's it for today, and I'm just glad y'all come in here and heard a little bit about the history of this congregation. Thank you. Turn it back.